Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're opening up a forgotten time capsule. We're looking at the language of World War II. We spend so much time on the industrial scale of it all, the tanks, the ships. But the war was a total mobilization. It consumed everything, including, well, language itself.
That's precisely it. Just like Detroit's factories were retooled from making sedans to bombers, the English language was also completely retooled.
How so?
Well, it had to serve two masters. On one hand, you have this need for just grim military efficiency.
Right.
But on the other, you have the psychological needs of 16 million people trying to cope with this unprecedented global chaos.
So we've been digging through the history of that era, and our mission today is really to give you a shortcut to understanding that unique vernacular, the words that connected, the foxholes in Europe to the kitchens back home.
It's the language of the greatest generation. It's full of dark humor, compression, and just surprising creativity.
And at the absolute center of all this is this baffling, almost mythical figure, a bald-headed man peering over a wall.
Kilroy.
We are talking about Kilroy Was Here, arguably the first viral meme of the American superpower era. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it. So Kilroy, he was everywhere.
The phrase, Kilroy was here, and that drawing, the bald guy with the big nose.
Peeking over the wall.
Exactly. The sources show it was truly ubiquitous. Soldiers would find it scribbled on the bulkheads of troop ships inside captured German bunkers.
Ruins of cities, latrines, you name it.
And the real origin, the verified story, it's this amazing example of, bureaucratic necessity.
It's bureaucracy accidentally giving birth to mythology. It starts thousands of miles from any battlefield in the Four River Shipyard in Quincy, Massachusetts.
So the home front created the legend, not the war itself. What was happening in Quincy?
It was a simple case of labor fraud. The man himself was James J. Kilroy.
Okay.
And his job was to check the work of the riveters. They were paid by the rivet, you see.
Piecework. I see where this is going.
Exactly. The riveters started erasing his chalk marks on the bulkheads so they could get the foreman to count the same set of rivets twice.
So they were double dipping. A pretty smart little scam.
A very smart scam. So Kilroy needed a countermeasure, something undeniable. He ditched the chalk and started using a durable yellow crayon.
And he wrote?
He scrawled, "Kilroy was here," next to the rivet blocks he'd already counted and paid out. It was his signature, his proof.
And the only reason it goes global is because of the sheer speed of American industry. They were launching ships so fast.
So fast they weren't painting over the interior sections, the holds, the internal bulkheads. They all still had his crayon mark on them when the troops boarded.
So you have thousands of soldiers crammed onto these ships, and they see this baffling phrase over and over, Kilroy was here. They just assume this guy, this Kilroy, must be some kind of super soldier who got there first.
He's the ultimate scout. He's already been everywhere you're going. It became a joke, a kind of challenge.
But the twist is that the text is American, but the iconic drawing isn't.
No, that's the transatlantic fusion. It's so critical. When the GIS get to Britain for the D-Day buildup, they see a British character called Mr. Chad.
Okay, who's Mr. Chad?
He's that bald guy peering over the wall. He was the symbol of British rationing and austerity. You'd see him with captions like, "What? No sugar."
So it's the visual of British stoicism meets this assertive American phrase.
Yes. The confident American text, "Kilroy was here," fuses with the well-known British drawing. And that hybrid becomes the global tag.
So what was the function of it, psychologically?
Well, in a war where you're just a number, your government issue. Kilroy was an assertion of individual existence.
It's your proxy. You can't write your own name everywhere, but you can write his.
You can. And it became a competition. GIS would try to put Kilroy in the most impossible places. There are stories about it being found in Stalin's private bathroom at the Potsdam Conference.
You mentioned GI there, government issue. That's a perfect pivot to the wider military lexicon. It didn't even mean a person at first, did it?
No, not at all. Originally, GI stood for galvanized iron on supply manifests. For trash cans, buckets.
So a durable material.
Right. But by the war, it just got generalized to mean government issue. Everything from your rifle to your socks to, well, you. It reinforced this idea that the soldier was a mass-produced component. That's where G.I. Joe comes from.
And that mass production, that massive expansion of the military, created this need for acronyms.
The total explosion of them. You needed brevity for radio, for reports, but they quickly became something else.
A coping mechanism.
A way to deal with the sheer, overwhelming incompetence of any organization that large. The soldiers needed a way to rank the chaos.
A hierarchy of disaster. So walk us through it. What was the baseline?
The baseline, the default state of the universe for a soldier was SNAFU. Situation normal, all F add up.
So if things are a mess, that's just normal.
That's just Tuesday. But if it gets worse than normal, you escalate. TARFU. Things are really F add up. Now the chaos is actively causing problems.
And the absolute end of the line, total catastrophe.
That would be FUBAR. F-ed, beyond all recognition. It's a total loss. There is no fixing it.
And they even had one for inter-service rivalry.
Of course, JNFFU. Joint Army-Navy foul up. For that special kind of disaster that only happens when two branches try to work together.
There's such a fatalistic humor to it. Which brings us to Bohica.
Bend over.
Yeah.
Here it comes again.
Right.
That's the sound of pure resignation. It's what you say when you know you're about to get another impossible order from on high. It's a linguistic shield. You're naming the chaos to control it.
And a lot of that cynicism was aimed at the new officers, the ones rushed through training.
Oh, absolutely. They were called 90-day wonders. Or an even older insult was shavetail.
Shavetail, where's that from?
It comes from the old practice of shaving the tails of new, unbroken mules. It was a warning to everyone that this animal was green, unpredictable, and probably dangerous.
Wow, that is pointed. And you see a similar social divide in the slang for frontline troops versus guys in the rear.
A huge divide. It was essential for morale. If you were an infantryman living in the mud, you were a dog face.
And if you were in a safe job back at headquarters.
You were a REMF, a rear echelon mother effer. The perception was they had it easy while making life harder for the guys at the front.
Let's talk about equipment. Jeep is still with us today. What's the origin there?
The consensus is that it's a slurring of the letters GP for general purpose vehicle. GP becomes Jeep. It just stuck.
And the weapons got nicknames too. The M3 submachine gun.
They called it the grease gun because, I mean, it looked exactly like a mechanic's grease gun.
And the MK2 grenade.
The pineapple. Simple, descriptive. It's a language of familiarity. These are the tools of your survival, so you're given these intimate names.
Now, as the war splits into two very different conflicts, Europe and the Pacific, the language splits too. You get these distinct dialects.
Completely different worlds. The ETO, Europe, is defined by machines, civilians, seasons. The PTO, the Pacific, is about isolation, disease, and just this brutal environment.
So the Pacific lexicon feels much more psychological. It reflects the stress of being stuck on these tiny islands.
Yes, the idea of the rock, being stuck on a small island outpost for months on end in the sweltering heat. It led to a condition they called rock happy.
Like stir-crazy, but amplified.
Amplified by heat, malaria, and constant fear. Another term was going Asiatic, and then you had the physical toll, things like jungle rot or the crud for all the horrible skin infections.
And one word that came directly from the Pacific into everyday American English.
That would have to be boondocks.
Right.
It comes from the Tagalog word bundak, which means mountain. The Marines started using it to mean any remote, inaccessible jungle area.
Right.
And it came home with them.
Now, if we shift to Europe, the ETO, the language is much more about technology, about machinery.
And about the enemy's machinery. The absolute bogeyman of the European theater was the German 88mm gun.
It was an anti-aircraft gun, right? Yeah. But they used it against everything.
Tanks, infantry, everything. It was terrifyingly effective. So for the GIS, every piece of incoming enemy fire was from an 88. It became the catch-all term for mortal danger.
And in the air war, the crews had their own mythical enemy for when things went wrong mechanically.
They had gremlins. These little imaginary imps that would get into the engines or jam the guns.
And that's a key psychological difference right there.
It is. In Europe, if your machine breaks, you blame a gremlin, an external force. In the Pacific, you blame the environment or your own mind. You're rock happy.
But there was one term in Europe that every soldier dreamed of.
Ah, yes. The $1 million wound.
Which was?
A wound serious enough to get you sent home, back to the States, but not so serious that it would kill or permanently maim you. It was the winning lottery ticket.
We have to shift gears, because back on the home front, there was this whole other complex bureaucratic language of scarcity.
Run by the Office of Price Administration, the OPA. They created a whole parallel currency, ration points.
And you had two kinds of points.
Right. Red points were the critical ones.
Uh.
That was for meat, butter, fats. If you ran out of red points, you were in real trouble for dinner.
And blue points.
Blue points were for processed foods, canned goods. The idea was to encourage people to grow their own fresh food in victory gardens to save their blue points.
And one of the most vivid rituals of rationing involved butter, or the lack of it.
Oh, the oleomargarine ritual. Butter was incredibly high points, so everyone used oleo. But it came as a white, lard-like block.
With a little color packet.
A tiny capsule of yellow dye. And you had to knead that dye into the white fat until it looked something like butter. It was a whole laborious process, a defining chore of the home front.
Gas rationing was also huge, and it made your status public. You had to put a sticker on your windshield.
Which created a lot of resentment. Most people had the A sticker, the basic ration. 3, maybe 4 gallons a week.
Barely enough to get to work.
Barely. But then you'd see a car with an X sticker. Unlimited gas. For VIPs, politicians, and if you were caught cheating the system.
You were a chiseler.
A chiseler. The ultimate social crime.
And the workforce itself was changing. Women flooding into the factories.
You get Rosie the Riveter, of course. And she has her own gear. To keep her hair from getting caught in the machinery, she wore a snood.
And the work itself normalized women wearing slacks.
A huge social change. You couldn't work a rivet gun in a skirt and heels. Practicality won out.
But the defining emotional reality of the war was separation. And this led to, well, a whole secret language of intimacy. It starts with the mail.
It does. Sending millions of letters took up too much cargo space, so they invented V-mail, victory mail.
Which was basically microfilm?
Exactly. You'd write on a special form. It was censored, photographed, flown over as a tiny negative, and then printed out on the other side. It saved 98% of the shipping weight.
So it basically forced a Twitterization of 1940s letters. You had to be brief.
You did. But the most incredible invention was the coded acronyms they used to get past the military censors who read every single letter.
They needed to create a private space.
Desperately. So you get the sweet, sentimental ones everyone knows. SWAC, sealed with a kiss. Or Holland, hope our love lives and never dies.
But the sources show it got much more explicit, which really shows how deep that need for intimacy was.
Oh, they got very creative. You'd see things like Burma, be upstairs, ready my angel. Or Egypt, eager to grab your pretty tits.
Wow.
And one of the most famous was Norwich. You had to pronounce the K. K-knickers off ready when I come home.
Norwich. I mean, that is just an incredible act of linguistic defiance to maintain your private, intimate life right under the noses of the censors.
It's pure human resilience. It's asserting your private self in the most public, most regimented system imaginable.
But the war's ultimate vocabulary was about loss. And the home front had a very quiet, somber way of marking that.
Gold star. Families with a service member would put a flag in their window with a blue star if that person was killed.
Yeah.
The blue star was replaced with a gold star.
Creating the Gold Star Mother.
A title of unimaginable public grief.
So when you put it all together, what does it mean? This was more than just slang. It was a linguistic survival mechanism. It let a whole generation name its fears, mock its leaders, and hold on to its humanity.
And the legacy is still with us. SNAFU, FUBAR, GI, Jeep, they're all still here. But Kilroy's the big one. That bit of anti-fraud graffiti that went viral and fused two cultures, he really symbolizes America's arrival as a global superpower. He was here, everywhere, first.
The war forced conciseness with V-mail and acronyms, and it forced creativity with these psychological shields like gremlins or rock happy. So think about this. Their brevity was forced by physical limits, rationed paper, cargo space. In our world of permanent connectivity and instant digital communication, are we still inventing words that act as shields? Or has the language of chaos just been digitized? That's something for you to mull over.